Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Wonderful. It's time for my favorite podcast, the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. I can't wait to hear if Hasbro is making an action figure out of me in gold chrome. Or perhaps they'll just use that horrible gold color paint.
This is the way.
We want it men.
Welcome to episode 242 of the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. This week I was smart and looked before we started recording. We got Jason, and this week we've got our buddy Chris Leddy on to talk. Leddy, I don't know. Dude, Leddy.
You did it right. You did it right the first time.
You're right. You're good.
You threw me off. You laughed, and I'm like, did I pronounce it wrong? Because we just talked about this. We're just going to, he's a big Ahsoka collector, and he emailed us a few weeks ago and was like, hey, let's, I'm kind of doing the same thing you're doing with paring stuff down. And let's, I'd love to come on the show. So he looks like he said he has podcast experience, and looks like there's a good mic there. So let's see what kind of trouble we can get into today. Exactly. Guys, how y'all doing this morning?
Doing well.
Doing good.
Awesome.
Can't
my mic was really loud in my ears. So I was like, whoa.
Is it better now?
It's better now. So how's we already asked how things are going. It's
microphone issues aside.
Yes, microphone issues aside, computer issues aside. We have no gremlins, so
yet.
Fingers crossed.
You just invited them into the chat.
Dang sure did. Jinxed us.
Did you pick anything up this week?
No.
This is going to be
it's going to be boring. I did get an email from somebody that they were sending me something. So I don't know when it's coming. I have a suspicious package coming today. So I guess next week I will have a get.
Just remember, if it's white powder, don't touch it.
Yes. I might have a fun time though.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, if it's the wrong white powder.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. For me, I'll lead off. Like I've been on a buying freeze. I told myself not to spend any money in the month of April, but I did receive something recently, and the Hot Toys 1/6 scale Sabine Wren from obviously Ahsoka series. So that showed up, and finally set it up, and the thing's amazing. The head sculpt is like spot on, and my girls have already claimed the loft cat that comes with it. So.
That's right. You're part of what? 6 Scale Scavengers?
Yep. Yeah, I was a co-founder for that podcast and YouTube channel and stuff like that. It's been pretty much dormant the last couple of years, but still active Facebook group. But
so is that Chopper the sideshow shop? Yeah.
Yeah, the Hot Toys Chopper.
Hot Toys. So, that's such a good looking.
I know, it's so cool. It's got all the attachments and everything, and it's
that's beautiful.
Got all the arms and the detail.
Oh yeah, it's pretty awesome. Sweet. So, but yeah, I've got some of the other characters from that series on pre-order. The Ahsoka the White figure released in Hong Kong recently, and I've got that on pre-order. That'll show up in a month or two, and then got young Ahsoka on pre-order and Hera. So I'm not doing the whole complete line, but just picking and choosing.
Yeah,
I'm getting my first Hot Toys this year too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm getting Ponda Baba, Walrus Man, Dr. Ezavon, Labria, and Greedo.
Going all in.
Going all in just for the Cantina ones, and I'm not gonna do like there was a Gargadin. I didn't get that one because I don't think that was actually in the canteen. I think he was outside watching. But who knows? Maybe he was in the shadows.
Yeah, there you go. He was peering, like peeping Tom in it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, you got to have your limits,
yeah, that's it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do all of them.
The only experience I have with Hot Toys is in 2017 at Celebration. I walked up to the booth. I just missed a giveaway because they do Twitter giveaways and stuff.
Yep.
Sideshow will, and I was like, oh, I just missed your giveaway, and they're like, well, hold on, I might have something for you, and they handed me one of the black art, the Imperial R2 units.
Mm-hmm.
And then my son was like, hey, what about me? And they're like, well, here you go, and they gave him a General Phasma. Captain Phasma. And yeah, but that's Sabine. Yeah, I mean,
Chrome Dome.
Wow. Okay.
Chrome Dome.
Yeah, she looks great, but I don't know. I guess I'm just like that figure. You're like, it's $200 and it just doesn't do anything for me. But I'm sure that Sabine is pretty awesome. I look at her and
yes, it's amazing. Some of the photographers like on Instagram, the poses and stuff they can get these figures into and the fight scenes and everything. It's insane. I'm like struggling just to get a stand-up pose with her holding her helmet.
Right. So. I think that's what kills me about a lot of these things is you see all these people that can pose these toys and yeah, you're right. I have trouble standing mine up and I may give them a little bit of a turn and then they fall and you're like, that sucks.
Yeah. I've had a few fall off my shelf. I don't have like the best setup in my basement here, but like, yeah, my girls have bumped the shelving unit and figures have fallen down and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's tough when they're that that pricey.
Right. Yeah, I had to move some stuff because I had a bunch of ceramics, bootleg ceramics, and I just had them on a shelf. And my wife had one of her girlfriends come over with their boys, and of course they're playing lightsabers in my room, and I'm like, those need to get moved because somebody's going to bump into that and there goes thousands of dollars worth of ceramics. And yeah.
Especially that Jabba. I didn't realize how rare that Jabba was that you have.
Dude, that Jabba, I had our buddy Jim messaged me and he offered me like triple what my wife paid for it because he was like, I've only seen 2 and yours is a third. And yeah, those are hard to come by. I didn't even realize how hard that was because my wife, she would like scavenge, just online and she found a lot. It was the Ewok, the Jabba, and a Vader for like $150. And I was like, okay, grab them. And I didn't realize that Ewok and the Jabba was like insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to the point somebody has a mold and is making modern versions of them and they're going for $300-400.
Holy cow. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, some of those niche areas, there's certain pieces that really command, top dollar. And it's good to know that stuff when you're out hunting for things.
Right. Yeah, I only need the Leia, so I'm kind of keeping my eyes open for her. Last one, I think, was on Deal or No Deal, and it was out of Canada, and the guy wanted like $200-300. So on time, and then I'd have to ship it from Canada, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
You don't want to pay the tariffs and everything.
Right, exactly. Plus, then you're shipping. I don't like shipping that stuff, especially from
it's tough.
Out of the country. It scares me.
I get it, man. Yeah. I've shipped stuff to other countries and carded, vintage carded figures, and I'm like so worried that they're going to bust through the bubble and all that stuff. You're just like packaging them up so nice and tight, but you never know how they're going to be handled.
Right. And then I've shipped something and then like a month later it shows back up on my doorstep. And then by that time you don't have the messages between the guy anymore because it's been so long and you got to wait for him to message you going, hey man, what happened? And then thankfully I was able to ship it back to him and it made it. But those are always scary because, it's several $100s worth of stuff. And it's like, I can't cover this. I can't give this guy his money back because I've already spent it.
Classic.
Yeah.
I did find Mace Windu Jedi Starfighter. It's a Micro Galaxy Squadron. It's one of the chases. So I picked that up. I mean, just because I don't find chases that often.
Right. I've been looking, but I haven't really seen anything. I haven't, I'm still looking. Huh?
Series 8 and 9 are starting to hit the shelves, but I mean, people are picking up the chases and rares and flipping them on eBay.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to find that TIE Defender, but that's just coming out, right?
Yeah. But that's a regular release. It's not a chase or rare.
Okay, so I should be able to find it if I
Should
find
be.
it.
Should is the key.
Right.
So you found that on the store shelves?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I found that at a Walmart. I'm like, well, I guess it's only $12. I'll grab it.
Yeah, I don't pick up too much stuff these days, but every time I walk through Walmart, Target, I mean, it's still, there's nothing. There's nothing up here in New Hampshire. So it's just like, there must be a few handful of people that just come through and wipe everything out. And I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe it's just so out and it's not a major city, so they don't get a large quantity of item.
Yeah. Yeah. We up in the Northeast, it seems like we're the last ones to get anything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I got some comics too, some Ahsoka comics.
Oh yeah.
See if I can show them.
Oh,
a
that
nice
one looks
cover.
great.
And then Thrawn.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah. And then some of the just easy to get variants. So
Yeah.
but nothing
So
nothing crazy.
is that a comic adaptation of the show?
Yeah. Yep.
That's right. You got to go to Boston and see it on the big screen, episode 5.
I did.
How was it?
It was insane. That was such an awesome experience. I know David Quinn had me on his podcast to talk about that experience, but yeah, it was FG De Robertis sent me a link. He's like, hey, there's this like Lucasfilm lottery thing, check it out. And so I did, and I just applied for it, and I ended up winning a VIP pass to AMC Theater in just outside of Boston.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because like all the other winners were all droid builders and 501st. And I'm like, I guess I'm a podcaster. But it was insane. It like was awesome, but it also ruined the show for me because every episode after that was such a, let down presentation wise.
Yeah.
That, it kind of, it was one of those things where amazing experience, but I wished every episode after that was on the big screen. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Did you like Ahsoka the entire season?
I like on a base level, I enjoyed the series, but like when you start thinking about the story and some of the character choices that they made, I get, I lost it on a few areas, but I'm excited to see where the things go next.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely, I kind of tried to go in with no expectations, but being such a big Ahsoka fan and like Rebels fan and like all that stuff, it was kind of hard not to get a preconceived idea of what I wanted to happen. So, and not much of those things happened. So,
yeah. What about you, Glenn? Because I don't want Chris's answer there to influence you, but here we are 2 years. Was it 2 years out?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Do you still like that season?
I still enjoyed it. The only thing I don't like about it is it feels like all we did was flip-flop people. So all of a sudden you've got Thrawn and Ezra in the known galaxy, and now you've got Ahsoka and Sabine in the unknown galaxy at Peridia, and you're like, you made us go through 8 episodes to do this. So that was a little bit of a letdown. I really wanted to see a reunion, a Rebels crew reunion. Hopefully we'll get that in season 2 because Zeb is rumored to, they've actually said that Zeb's going to be in season 2. So fingers crossed we'll get a reunion. I know, when Ezra said, Hera, I'm home, I cried like a little girl, at the end. But no, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't want to overthink things because then you ruin it.
Yeah.
You just want to take it at face value and just be like, I'm just glad we got to see our friends one more time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of, I'm like glad that it happened and we got it and I can revisit it and, take it in as much as I want to.
Mhm.
But I'm not an Ahsoka fan or whatever anymore because it didn't like quite hit my expectations, on all the levels.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm still excited for the next season. And yeah, do I wish they made some different character choices? Yes, but this is what we got. And, I'm okay with it.
So how
What'd
do
you
you
think
feel
of?
about Sabine being a Jedi?
I mean, like in a vacuum, it's cool,
Right.
but like just I think it was really the speed at which her force abilities like took effect
Mhm.
in the show. I know like she had done training and stuff with Kanan, back in the day, but yeah, that was not I wasn't too crazy about that part of it, but I mean, I think like aesthetically, they nailed the character and everything, and there's
Mhm.
definitely parts of the character that I really enjoy. I think some of the stuff where Sabine and Ezra meet, and it's like there's no like huge embrace and like
Mhm.
like all that. Just some of that part of it didn't hit for me. When Ezra showed up and Hera was there,
Mhm.
it's like I get your feelings, Glenn. Like
Mhm.
absolutely that reunion, but like they could have like again ran to
Right.
each other and embraced each other and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm nitpicking honestly. So,
Right.
but I think yeah, I'm curious to see where things go. I'm hoping it like takes another level,
Mhm.
on each side of the galaxies that they're in. We see a lot of stuff happen. So
Yeah, they've missed a couple emotional beats. Like in The Force Awakens, Chewie walks right by Leia after Han dies, and it's just
okay.
slow down and think for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of that, I don't know if it was the directors or the way it was written or whatever, but clearly, there could have been a little bit more emotion put into it. I think, I before Ahsoka basically transforms into Ahsoka the White. I wasn't crazy about like her from an emotional standpoint either. Those first few episodes,
Yeah.
but I I don't know. it's it. We could nitpick about this stuff all day, but hey, we got Star Wars, and um,
Yes.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But you've been an Ahsoka fan since the start, like I was saying before we started recording, ahead of the curve almost. And like, what about Ahsoka made you think, you know what, I'm gonna start collecting her. I'm gonna start getting those prototypes. I'm gonna start because like everybody else was hating her, and they were just
Yeah,
saying Lucas again ruined Star Wars by including this kid.
right. I mean, my story is a little bit. Um, I wasn't collecting her when the movie came out and the toys first came out. I mean, I saw the movie, um, and I was at a different part of my life. I wasn't actively collecting at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and we are also in a recession, so that
Yeah.
didn't that didn't help.
Yeah.
It took quite a while. It really wasn't until the 2015, the ramp up, Force Awakens and like that fandom started kicking back, and I started getting back into collecting. I had started a new job. I was on the road all the time, and I was everywhere I was going. I was looking at like Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what is out there for Star Wars collections and collectibles, whatever." And I started buying up all these loose collections, but not vintage. I was buying Clone Wars era
Hmm.
collections, vehicles, figures, all this stuff, and I started going through those figures, hundreds of figures. And I'm like, man, there's so many of this girl. Who is this girl? And so then I started putting two and two together. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a girl from the Clone Wars movie. And then I realized I kind of known that the Clone Wars series was going on, but I didn't watch it when it came out.
Yeah.
And then it was on Netflix, and I just binged it, and I like absolutely fell in love with the character. And I started doing research, as we do when we find something new that we like, and just
Yeah.
going in hard, all like looking for everything. And I'm like, man, there's not a ton of stuff. There is things out there, but there wasn't a lot for Ahsoka. Um, then she made her appearance on Rebels, and then it started building from there. It still wasn't quite, where it got to at the height. I would say things have died down in the last year or two, but yeah, so I started researching, and then in 2015 is when I got back into the hobby and started exploring like Facebook and the Facebook groups, and started making connections and all that sort of stuff. And guys that I started becoming friendly with online, Stephen Ward, Justin Rowland, some of these guys, Brian Angel, Brandon Weiss, like Anthony Pagano, like everybody was into modern prototypes. And I was like, I don't know about this stuff. And I started researching, and then, yeah, the prototype, dude, I bought stuff at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, I found painted hard copies on eBay of some of her figures, and I jumped on them, and then I just started making the connections with all those people and started picking up. I was going crazy with the production stuff, picking up whatever I could find with prototypes. Yeah. And, the rest is history. My basement was full of stuff. I mean, it looks like it's full of stuff now, but there was like 5-6 times as much Ahsoka stuff. But yeah, it just, the type of character she is, like that resiliency, the determination to be, who she thinks who she is. She's not trying to be anything else. Like, she realized, these things that are, don't quite dry with me. Like, I'm being accused of stuff. Like, I don't think I can do this. I'm going to forge my own path. I think those character traits, they really connected with me. And I think, the example she sets for, young women, young men, like, I think it's something to look up to. And that's, I don't know, it just connected. And you guys know how when you connect with a character, and it's like, it hits. And so it's funny, like, a lot of my Star Wars or friends that aren't collectors, aren't into Star Wars, are like, what's your favorite character? And I say Ahsoka Tano, and they're like, who? Like, you've been a fan forever. Who's this? I'm like, she started out in animation. Oh my God, animation. Like,
Right.
and stuff like that. So it's, it's kind of one of those things where, like, my friends outside of the hobby don't know about her, and I try to teach people about her, and, get people into the character. And they've like watched the Ahsoka show, and they thought it was really good, and they're like, wow, this character's awesome, blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, tangent over. But I could go on forever about it. So
That's actually a good point, because I don't know what people outside of the Star Wars hobby or Star Wars fans think about Ahsoka. Like, they come into the Mandalorian, they see episode 5, the Jedi,
yeah,
and then there's the Ahsoka spinoff. So I'm always curious about other opinions, and that's just the kind of cool one that they enjoyed Ahsoka.
yeah,
They
yeah,
didn't have the baggage.
right, exactly. And then I have friends that have gone back and watched Clone Wars, and my buddy Brenton right now, he's been watching all through Clone Wars and Rebels and learning about all these characters and stuff. And he's a big Thrawn fan, so he wanted to pick up the Thrawn content. But I said, you got to do the work. You got to go through and
Right.
learn these characters and understand, their trials and tribulations and everything they've been through. And then the weight of the events, like at the end of Clone Wars, and then the end of certain arcs in Rebels. And then, okay, why is Thrawn in this other galaxy, and like all this stuff. I think it's a fun journey. And I can't promote the animation more. It's just, it adds to the Star Wars lore and universe. Like, it adds so much to it. And I'm so glad we've got it, and we keep getting snippets and little series and stuff like that coming out. I think all of it is great.
Yeah, because I gotta agree with because my first like real introduction to Ahsoka was when she drops down in the Ghost. I knew who she was, but I didn't understand who she was, and like I wish I would have understood the heaviness of her coming in the Rebels, or the significance of her coming in the Rebels, because that was significant at the time. But then, like when I rewatched the Clone Wars, and in like the end of season 6, when she walks away from the Jedi Order, you're like, that's how they ended Clone Wars. It's like, because I forced because season 7 came out, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to watch season 7 till I watch everything.
Yeah.
So marched through, or, whatever, binged 1 through 6. And then when season 6 was over, it was like, that's how they ended it. And the heaviness of it, and you realize, it's not like, oh, I can hit next and I've got season 7. You got to think about the fact that there was years in between season 6 and 7, and that's how they ended Clone Wars. Was that. And we were at the summer social, and Narayan, somebody was watching Clone Wars, and Ahsoka, it was like one of the first ones with Ahsoka, and I'm like, is she that annoying the whole show? Because what I know of Ahsoka is not this annoying little girl. And then they're like, watch Clone Wars, you'll get it. And, you get to see her journey from an annoying little girl to somebody who's, basically a Jedi master. And it's really cool, So yeah, you're right. You gotta earn it, I think. Earn to understand where all these, you can't just jump in and be like, oh, I'm a Thrawn fan. It's like, have you read the Timothy Zahn books? Do you know about? No, well, there's like 6 of them. Go read them.
And then the new canon stuff, and like there's just there's just so much out there, and I don't consume it all. Like, there is quite a bit. I used to try to keep up when the new canon came out. I was keeping up with every novel and like all that stuff, but eventually I was just like, I can't. They're just coming at me fast and furious, and it's just like they pile up, and then you just pick and choose. But it's been a while since I've gotten into the novels and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, you hope that all that effort, pays off with some of the, live action content or animation, and we get snippets here and there, and so it does, you feel like it is worth it, but sometimes it's not. With certain stories and books and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I wish I had time to like rewatch everything again, and get that feeling again. But yeah, it's fun. There's just, Ahsoka's transformation from that annoying little, young teenager to, Ahsoka the White in, the series and stuff like that. There's so much in between, and it's pretty amazing.
All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I can never tell if Jason's getting ready to say something or taking a breath.
No, I was just trying to figure out what I could add to that. I mean, I know that George Lucas was not as involved after season 1 of the Clone Wars, so they're able to step back and let Ahsoka mature a little bit, because he's the one that kept forcing the fart jokes in that first season.
Yeah, I know. There's definitely, the first season and, certain arcs and that sort of stuff that, even later in the series, are a little bit tough to get through. But, stuff like Mortis and, her trial and everything, I think, and obviously like season 7, the final arc is just chef's kiss. Like,
yes.
I mean, that is my favorite. There's Twilight of the Apprentice and Rebels, and Siege of Mandalore are my 2 favorite pieces of Star Wars. Like, and their animation,
yeah.
And I grew up a Jedi, Return of the Jedi kid, and all that stuff, and I just they every time I watch those, I'm like, like waterworks. It's like, the nerd feels and all that. I just I can't I can't, get enough of it. And I mean, Celebration Chicago, I got to do the Clone Wars season 7 panel and talk about, like that anticipation. And I mean, that was like, I was sitting with Justin Roiland and David Quinn, and like, most amazing experience ever. And so like for the, that season, especially the last arc, to hit the way it did, like, meant that much more. And I'm like, I was at that panel when they showed, the footage and saw the whole lineup there, all the voice actors and everything up there. And David Quinn, Justin, and I are sneaking around at the end of the show or the panel, like looking for tickets so we could get as many Ahsoka posters as we could. And, it's just, such awesome memories, and to be able to connect it to something that I could watch all the time if I want to is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't hit any of those panels. I hope to someday.
Are you planning on going to LA?
I would like to. I was really hoping it was Orlando.
Yeah, amen.
Man, being on the East Coast would have been so much better. The prices for everything just jumped drastically when you insert California into the equation. We'll see. I mean, I know a lot of our collector friends, are already planning. I've already got somebody trying to get me to room with them and everything. And I mentioned to my wife, and she literally said nothing. It was just a massive eye roll, and she walked out of the room. So,
ouch.
Yeah.
Dagger to the heart.
Oh man. Well, and like in Chicago, that was my first celebration, and we ended up getting a room at the convention center from somebody that had booked 2 rooms just in case. And so that worked out. And then I ended up getting a vendor badge to help out at the Northeast Star Wars Collectors Club booth. And talk about like being spoiled on your first celebration and not having to wait in any of those lines to get in the morning. And like, I got in, I was there during setup the night before, and like got to peruse all the, vendor booths and everything beforehand, picking up, deals. And I'm like thinking about the prices of stuff. I'm like, why didn't I buy more, last 17 figures when I was there? So,
yeah, I know that spoiled us last celebration. Well, in Anaheim, because we were helping with we got a club table, and those vendor badges. Yeah, you're spoiled, man, because you're walking past everybody in line. You're in there early. I mean, Jay, we've told it several times on the podcast, because we wake up Sunday morning. Jason's like, I want to go buy this one figure. And we just hop in there. And as we're talking to Jazzwares, we get a tap on our shoulder, and like, Dave's right there. So, I mean, it was just, stuff like that. And then having freaking Ewan McGregor drive right past us, stuff like that. You don't get that with a normal badge, know? So it definitely, it spoiled us.
Yeah. I don't, it would be really hard to have a regular pass going in, especially after seeing all the stuff going on with Celebration Japan and the, queuing up in lines that go to another queue, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And, but yeah, I mean, the downside was that I had a pass to Celebration Chicago, but I sold it to help recoup. So I wasn't able to like get into any of the huge panels. I could only get into the ones that were, first come, first serve. And I wasn't part of I couldn't get any of the like exclusives and that sort of thing, but it was totally worth it.
Right.
It was totally worth it.
Yeah. And I think that's what scares me about going, to LA, is it's like, I don't want to spend all this money and then have a crap experience, because like you said, standing in line or queuing, because I know in Japan for like the autographs, you had to queue for a pass and you had to queue for your autograph. So that scares me.
Yeah. I was pretty strategic with like how I approached Celebration Chicago. I didn't end up doing any of the autographs or Anything that I had to spend longer than a half an hour in line for, I was just like, I sacrificed that part of, the experience
Mhm.
to just always be doing something. And it was just, you know, I wish I had, because like guys, my people I was rooming with, I roomed with Justin Rowland and Jesse Cedar Soberman. And Jesse comes back and he took a picture with Billy D. Williams, and and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And other friends were getting photo ops and that sort of thing. But you know, you got to pick and choose. You can't do everything at these big conventions, and I wish I could. But yeah, the biggest thing were for me were hitting some of the collecting tracks, definitely doing room sales. And really the biggest thing for me, and you guys know how it goes, like it's like finally meeting these friends in person, be able to hang out. Just hanging out at the bar
Mhm.
was like the coolest thing. I'm hanging out with like all the Vintage Rebellion guys and like the Kivecast guys, and just a who's who. I mean, the first night, Justin and I come down from our hotel room and we're like, what are we gonna do for dinner? And then we bump into Todd Hudson, and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? We're like, I don't know. He's like, come with us. We got a van. And we get in the van, and like Matthias Rendell's in there, and Brian Angel, and the famous Fluffy, and like from the Kivecast, like all these like, well-known people. And we're like, what the heck? And we just go to this insane steakhouse in Chicago, and we got our own room. And like Justin and I are like looking at each other, like, I can't even believe I'm here right now with like all the who's who of the vintage collecting, crew and
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Right.
I mean, that's what I think, it's about, is kind of going with the flow.
Right.
So,
Yeah. That's what we kind of experienced a little bit in Anaheim. I was in Orlando in 2017, and that was my first real experience with it. And I didn't never got I was by myself, so I didn't know anybody, and but definitely going in Anaheim, because me and Jason roomed together and we made the trip together. And just knowing people, and you had those experiences where you're like, what are we gonna do? Or we're gonna go do this, and we're gonna, and it does. The friendships are what makes it right now, and that's what David Quinn always says. It's not about the stuff is awesome, but it's the
yeah.
friendships that we're at the point now where the friendships is what we're collecting.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I'm hanging out with people like collectors from, Germany, Australia, everywhere in Europe, California, just like Singapore, like we're all in the same tables and I'm like just kind of taking it all in. And
Mhm.
it's just, yeah, that's the part that I really miss when it comes to these conventions. It's not like, I mean, seeing like some of the panels and stuff obviously can, be quite impactful, but I think really it's meeting up with people. And, you know, yeah, I'm hoping to someday get down to, Rogue Fun, or, one of the summer socials down in Georgia. Cause,
Yeah.
man, it would be pretty sweet. I got my, Rogue Fun
I was gonna
Ahsoka-holics
Ahsoka-holics.
I was gonna
patch.
ask you
Yep.
if you were a member of the Ahsoka-holics.
Oh yeah. Founding member. So, but, yeah, yeah, we have some up here in the Northeast. Usually the guys down in Connecticut and stuff will get together in New Jersey,
Yep.
but that's anywhere from 2 to 4 hours away for me. Um, so it makes it a little bit tough. I miss those meetups. I've gone down to like Ross Barr's house down in Southern Jersey
Yeah.
before, and um, again, amazing. Like the guys out in like the Saratoga area of New York, Tom Quinn and
Yeah.
uh, all
Jason
those Jason
Thomas.
Thomas and yeah, Fonz. I've been to
Yeah.
FonzCon before, like out in Syracuse. Um, but yeah,
Whoop
with a young,
whoop.
yeah, I know, right? I know. I was
There's a
so,
Syracuse mention, and it was not from me,
There
people.
you go. Woo.
I
Yeah.
knew you'd like that.
Yeah, I get really jealous of all of the guys that are up in that area, because it feels like in 2, 3 hours you can be anywhere,
Yeah.
or within a bunch of
Oh
different
yeah.
collectors, and where we're not, I don't want to say landlocked is the wrong term, but we're like far away. We're like, far away from everything.
Yeah. 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 It seems like you have a pretty good concentrated area or a collector base in your area. But yeah, when you start jumping to all the different groups and stuff like that, yeah, I can see it being tougher. Yeah. Like, yeah, some of the meetups have been pretty fun. It's always worth it. Like, and I know David always talks about it on his podcast. It's like, if you've never been and you're worried about it, like, you got to just go and jump in, and there's always at least Star Wars to talk about,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the one thing. Because we, in our club, we have a lot of people. Oh, I only collect this or I collect that. And I'm like, it's Star Wars, right? And they're like, yeah. It's like that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we know how broad Star Wars collecting is. Like, there's something for everybody, and yeah, you can always share what you've got, and even if it's just like your old beat up figures from childhood, or you know some of the newest stuff, like, it's
Mhm.
still fun to talk about and share with like-minded people.
Right. And that's some of the coolest stuff is when you're like, look, this is my original stuff I played with. Just seeing that and
Yeah.
knowing, and being a little jealous because I don't have this stuff from when I was a kid, but somebody that their parents thought, to save it or they were able to save it from
Yeah.
when they were a kid, that's some cool stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my original Ewok village right back here. It's hard to see, but
Oh, I noticed it.
yeah. So I have a few pieces still from childhood, but yeah, it's awesome. It's like, I remember playing with, I got it from my neighbor that lived across the street, and he had a yard sale, and it was at the yard sale, and he had tons of Star Wars stuff and everything. And my dad had told his mom, like, hey, if you ever want to get rid of all your Star Wars stuff, like, we'll buy it all. And so then when we see this at his yard sale, we're like, oh, what about all the other Star Wars stuff? Oh, I sold that at a Boy Scout yard sale we had a couple weeks ago. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? But we did. We got the Ewok Village, just mint complete, everything. It's
That's awesome.
Still got it. But
yeah,
yeah. I mean, a lot of my vintage stuff from childhood I sold off over the years, buying and selling and trading up, and trading into the collectible shops, and always trying to upgrade and that sort of thing. So I have my Imperial shuttle that I got from childhood, and I kept my Rebel Commando from Return of the Jedi from childhood, which was a fun story I told on the Kivecast. But yeah, I don't have everything. I wish I kept it all. I wish I kept everything. G.I. Joes, Transformers, all that stuff. I sold all that stuff when I was like 12 or 13.
Right. I know people are always like, man, I wish I wish I would have kept it. It's like, well, if everybody kept their stuff, it'd be Power of the Force 2 all over again.
Totally. Yeah. I don't want Power of the
Or
Force.
Death of Superman, let's bring it into comic books.
God.
That's my favorite when people are like, look, I've got Death of Superman. You're like, yeah, you and everybody else, buddy.
I know. I can't tell you how many collections of comics or whatever I've bought, or figures. It's like, there's always Power of the Force 2, and there's always Death of Superman and everything. So
when it comes time to sell some of that stuff, how do you go through it and parse things down? What is your strategy? Do you hold it and say, do I love this?
Yeah, I do that. I definitely do that. I figure out, like, all right, does it fit any of my focuses, any of my runs? Is this an upgrade for me? Can I use the accessories from this one? So I do a lot of that evaluation, certainly when I pick up collections. But most of the time I try to sell as much as I can from, those collections, because, like I was saying, you can't keep everything.
Yeah.
And, you're always hoping that there's something in that collection that you want for your own collection, and something else that's going to make your money back. So I haven't been doing it a lot recently, but yeah, that's my whole, I've been doing that since I was in high school, since the 90s. And breaks in between years, gaps and stuff like that. But It was ingrained in me from childhood. My dad was an antique dealer. We'd be hitting yard sales every Saturday when I was a kid. I'd be looking for Star Wars stuff and he'd be looking for antiques.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a local shop, and I would trade in, like 30 beater figures for like 2 or 3 mint complete figures, and kind of learn that. I got into eBay early, in early 2000s. And but yeah, as far as like figuring out what to keep and what not to keep, like, I mean, it's fun going through stuff, but and the temptation to keep it a lot more than I should is certainly there, because I love Star Wars. I love collectibles. I love all vintage toys, comics, trading cards, like all that stuff. So I've been a lot more hard on my views in the last couple of years of like what to keep, because yeah, when you have too much stuff, it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, is your collecting space a factor? I mean, like if you're obviously you're an Ahsoka collector, so if you have this piece that you really like, but it doesn't fit on the shelf next to things, is that something you're like, it's got to go? Like, are you that hard on yourself?
Oh yeah. All my production Ahsoka, like I had all the carded figures, all the variations, like foreign variants, all the 2-packs, like everything. And I'm like, where am I going to put this? My basement is not finished, and we're not going to be finishing it. So like, I have a few shelving units in the back. And pretty much now it's like, if I have to store it in a tote, then it's got to be very special, because otherwise I can't keep it. I had totes and totes of like vintage collection figures, retro collection. I was collecting all those waves and everything. And I'm like, I have 6 totes filled with figures. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Where am I going to put these? So yeah, I set up at shows and stuff. And I would just, I'm kind of the mind, like there's certain things I want to get my monies back, but a lot of the time when I have bulk like that and I want to move it, blowout prices, trying to move stuff and trying to just get money back, because a lot of the time you're not going to get your money back with reselling that modern stuff.
So did you sell all of your Ahsoka variants, like all of the carded stuff? You kept some of it?
Yeah, I kept the few that I really, I really liked. I've got VC 102. You're the bane of your existence.
It'll never be worth anything.
Yeah. But it's like, so I kept, I sold one. I had 3 variants. I sold 1 foreign variant. Actually, the one above my head is actually for sale right now. But then I'm keeping the US one. It's like pristine condition, and I got it at Celebration Chicago for $100. So like, I have that memory attached to it, even though like the foreign variants potentially worth more. I'm like, I'm just going to keep one example, some of her Clone Wars figures. I had like 4 variants, and I'm just like, I'm kind of, it's like, I did that and I don't need to keep it. It's something I accomplished. And a lot of these runs, like at one point I had, cause I collect Rebel Commando for vintage Star Wars, I had like 35 different carded variants of Rebel Commando.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I didn't need it. So I started paring down. I got a whole bunch more I want to pare down. I just got 6 on a shelf, and that's what I'm collecting. If I can't display it, I consider it inventory, honestly.
So I guess refining your collection is more important than how much it sells for, because these days things aren't selling as high as they should.
I know.
You just have to contend with that. You just got to be like, it's more important to have the proper items on the shelves than it is to make the most amount of money I can, which is frustrating. Can be very frustrating.
It is definitely frustrating because, during the pandemic, the height, I sold a lot. I sold a ton of stuff during the pandemic, but I also bought a lot. And a lot of the stuff I bought is not worth what it was,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, my mindset is, yeah, I could keep this stuff forever, but getting money back in my, I call it my slush fund, or, collecting fund, or, my buying, my buying power or whatever. I'd rather put the money back in that and then redistribute it, in a smarter way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things I've learned is trying to be a much smarter buyer, and not just buying everything just because it's a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Passing on collections that there's no upside. There's a lot of stuff. But it'd take years to make my money back.
Yeah.
So being a smarter with my purchases, and I'm quality over quantity. I know, Glenn, you've been talking about that.
Yeah.
It's just and then understanding, like, I'm into other things and I have a young family. So it's just all these things that you have to balance. Like, Glenn, you've got, your music, and Jason, you're doing all your 3D printing and
Yep.
like all that stuff. So it's like, all right, where am I going to put my money? Am I going to put it into something that's just going to sit in a tote? Or am I going to be able to put it on the shelf and enjoy it? Or is it something that I can, then I can sell and then use to buy something that I really want? Those are kind of some of the things that go through my mind after years of doing this and making as many mistakes as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And, falling into traps and trends. And I don't know. It must be, the, my getting up there in age,
Right.
and going through all these things.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of trends, real quick, trading cards. I know you're into that,
Yeah. Yep.
and I've heard from someone recently that it's a very healthy market. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously it went through the same thing during the pandemic, the boom, crazy prices, all that sort of thing. Things
Yeah.
have come down, but man, it's nuts. I mean, like, non-sports cards, Star Wars, Marvel, whatever,
Pokemon.
Pokemon's like just the most insane thing ever. My girls are into it, but not like, they don't like know all the stuff. But they're always like, can we get this card graded? And it's like, my 8-year-old wants the card graded. It's there's,
I
she at
guess
least,
it follows in the family tradition.
yes, I know, because they see all my stuff. But yeah, trading cards, I mean, I love it. I had trading cards. I remember opening up like Topps cards in the 80s and trying to collect all the Red Sox. I was trying to get Roger Clemens, and like, yeah, all those. And then, I mean, it helped me like learn about stats and pricing and values and
Yeah.
commerce, like trading and selling, and from a young age. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you've got, Fanatics, which owns Topps, investing tons of money into this area of collecting. And I mean, it's crazy the amount of money being pumped into trading cards. And Star Wars has quite the footprint. Amazing cards, like, just
Hold on a
it just
minute.
depends.
You're freezing on us.
There you go.
You got the Star Wars trading card. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. Yeah. So the Star Wars trading cards, it's pretty amazing. The amount of actors they get to sign in these cards, and the cards you can pull. I mean, people are pulling cards out of modern sets that are worth $20, $25, $30,000. So that's like a main driving factor. Is a big gambling aspect of it, buying the unopened boxes and trying to pull the big hit. it can lead you to some dark places
Yes.
financially. So you have to be very careful. I always say, if there's a character that you like and you want to get into trading cards, buy the singles, buy the cards that you want, and then open packs for fun, because it's hard to get, a decent return on investment when you're opening up packs, because you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, you could be the one that gets the 1/1 Mark Hamill autograph that's worth $10,000, or you could get, buy boxes and boxes and boxes and get nothing. I mean, my best Star Wars hit, I don't know if I'll be able to show it. It's
Oh wow.
Ahsoka, sorry, gonna glare. Rosario Dawson autograph.
Yeah.
And it's 5, there's only 5 copies of this in the world.
Wow.
Excuse me. So, I mean, that card is like a $2,500 card.
Wow.
So you can get some decent stuff, but I've decided to really pare down my trading cards. I think I only have, between like some of the other stuff I'm into, I only have like 25 cards in my PC now. I had all kinds of art cards, 1/1 art cards, but the demand is so high for those right now. Even though they're amazing artwork, it's like, I got other things I'm into. I'd rather sell them now while the market's hot, and I can live with them not in my collection.
Right.
So, yeah, there's it's understanding the market and like when to move something. And I've always been on the wrong end, like the downturn. I'm always selling all the best stuff at the bottom, so I'm trying to learn from mistakes. And
Yeah.
but yeah, there's some amazing stuff out there. They put out, I don't know, maybe six sets a year or something like that. So there's always something new to pick up.
I heard
Yeah,
there's
that's
like
what.
a
I'm sorry,
really
go-
rare. Sorry, I'll finish this up real quick. A really rare card out there that hasn't been publicly claimed or shown to be in existence. It's got like Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill signature on
Oh
it,
my
or
gosh.
something along those lines.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's before 2016, before Carrie Fisher passed away. So,
Well, funny thing is, so Carrie Fisher, so with Topps cards, so that card I showed you, they'll do on-card autographs, but they'll also do sticker autographs. So like the actors will sign a sheet of stickers,
oh,
and then Topps can put those stickers on the cards. Carrie Fisher still has autographs being pulled out of sets coming out now, because she signed so many stickers for Topps before she passed away. Same with
wow.
like Peter Mayhew and some of the other actors, Jeremy Bulloch, and so on. So yeah, there was somebody that a couple months ago, they pulled a 1/1 card that it folded out. So it was like a booklet, and it had
Yeah.
6 autographs on it.
Wow.
And it was like Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, and like one other original trilogy actor.
Wow.
Like Ian McDermott, I think. So, I mean, just some cool stuff out there. And
Maybe
yeah,
instead of buying scratch off tickets, I'll start buying those. I mean, if I'm gonna waste my money and throw the ticket out in the end, might as well
I
make it a
know.
Star Wars card.
I know that's what I was telling myself. I just buy a couple packs and have some fun with it. And maybe I'll pull something good. But
Yeah.
yeah.
How much?
Go ahead.
No. How much does a pack cost?
Well, there's all different varying degrees of sets.
Of
So
course.
yeah, there's stuff that comes out that the pack's like $5,
Okay.
$10, something like that. There was a set earlier this year that came out called Antiquities, and you would get 9 cards in this really nice box and a oversized art card, 1/1, like hand-drawn art card.
Mhm.
And those are going for like $3,500 to $5,000 a
Oh my
piece.
gosh. And that's
So
retail or secondary?
that's secondary market, and you don't know what you're getting. So like, so there's some high rollers in the trading card
Jeez.
arena. And it just gets multiplied exponentially when you get into major sports cards and that sort of thing,
My
which
gosh.
I don't really get it. I don't get into that stuff. It's just a whole rabbit hole. But I don't know. I love cards. It's part of my childhood, and
Mhm.
I try I've decided that I'm going to dabble enough that I've kind of hit that nostalgic, note, but I've realized I can't go as hard as I did, for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
He's trying to. So, but I mean, I'll be honest, like, so trading cards. So one of my other passions is cars. I'm a big car
Yes.
guy,
Yep.
and BMWs specifically. I used to be a BMW mechanic in a previous profession. And one of my dreams was always to have a car lift at my house so I could work on my own cars and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like a year and a half ago, I sold 6 trading cards and paid for a car lift to be installed in my garage.
That's the
So,
dream right there,
Yeah,
man.
right.
and that's the
Right.
only way I could justify it with my wife is that
Of course.
I sold trading cards that I was into for less than a third of what I sold them for. And, I could fulfill this dream of mine. So that's like
Responsibly.
responsibly. Exactly. I'm not
Yeah.
swiping the card or taking out a loan. So that's coming back around to like why I've been paring down is like, I have other things I'm into. I'm getting a little bit older. I want to do some things that I've always wanted to do. And I think I've been using my collection and inventory as like a conduit for achieving those things. And I
Yeah.
think that's something we can all do.
Mhm.
Glenn, I know you're going, going through all that stuff. And I think it's good that we have stuff like Jason. We didn't just scratch off scratch tickets and we get nothing. We
Right.
get stuff to fuel whatever we want to, even if it's like going out to dinner with my wife, I might sell some stuff so that way we don't have to, use a credit card or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I think, a lot of collectors, have this ability to, lighten the load and do a little bit more, than just having stuff in totes and that sort of thing.
Yep. It's a good strategy to have in the back pocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when you were talking about your art cards and stuff, like the expensive, it's like take a picture of it so you can prove you had it, and then
Yep.
go
Totally.
buy something else. So
Yeah.
No, that's a great way to put it, man.
I was recently lucky enough to see someone who had one of those art cards, and he
Mhm.
didn't know what he was having. And the art card that he had was pretty rough. I would have been pretty frustrated if that's the card that I landed, because
Yeah.
it looked nothing like the on-screen character.
right. Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
also seen like one of the artists I follow who did an art card like 20 years ago, and it finally got pulled. So I don't know if it sat for 20 years because it was like a Revenge of the Sith or something,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it sat, and they're like, oh, let's put this in a pack, and yeah,
Yeah. I mean, stuff's still out there. I mean, yeah, there's still sealed product from years ago, and you could still, people are still pulling stuff, open up packs. Like Glenn said, 20 years ago, Revenge of the Sith made cards. There's stuff in those packs that hasn't been pulled. And yeah, you never know what's going to be still in there. So
Pretty cool.
yeah. But yeah, there's art cards, man. Like they're so bad. It looks like a 5-year-old drew it. No
Mhm.
offense to the artist, but like, what are you doing? You're
Right.
submitting something to Topps. That's a licensed thing. And it's like, and you pull it and you're like, really? It's just,
Yeah.
I've pulled cards like that and you can't even get $10 for them. Just like, man. But
why does Topps do that? Why do they accept it and not reject it?
I know they should. It goes through a process of approval with Topps, but I think now it's one of those things where the company is, getting bigger and they're just, pushing stuff through because, hey, they need like, I don't know, 250 art cards for the set to be inserted into packs randomly, whatever's on them, like just approve it. We need 250,
Mhm.
But there are like different tiers for the artists. Like, Glenn, your artist that you
Christian.
got posters of. Yeah.
Yeah, Christian.
Like I don't know if he's done art cards for Tops, but like I would consider him a top tier artist.
Mhm.
There's several artists that are considered top tier, and like you pull a card of theirs out of a product and you're like instantly talking about thousands of dollars
Wow.
for these cards. I mean, I had an Ahsoka from this artist, Angel Aviles, and he's like considered a top tier artist. And I sold it for $2,700. So like that was like one of the cards that I got that I used to sell to buy that, the car lift and stuff. But it's just like, yeah, then you get there's such a huge disparity that it can be frustrating when you're like trying to pull something like cool and you don't get something that great. But that's part of that. Yeah, that's part of opening up packs.
Yeah. But at least you have a Star Wars card, and like I was saying before, scratch off ticket. You got nothing.
Totally. You got something cool to look at least. So.
Yeah, because we've got a friend that's into that, and he'll send us both cards every now and again.
Yeah.
He knows what we collect, and he's like, I guess these are extras, and here you go, have them. So I'll get a pack every now and again that's got a Wampa or Sabine in it, and you'll get your angry Kermit.
Yes. Evil Kermit.
Evil Kermit. It just went, had a brain fart.
I got to meet the voice of Salacious.
The Tim Rose?
Yeah. No.
He was at Joe Fest.
Yeah.
Not Tim Rose. Who was? Yeah,
Tim Rose did Akbar, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, he recently passed. He did a local show that right over the border into Maine that I do from time to time, and he was there. And there was a fun story about the night before, and he was late to the show for, having a little bit too much fun the night before. And
was it something salacious?
Yes, it was. But we got to hang out with him, and I got his autograph and stuff, but unfortunately, passed away.
Yeah.
But man, it's there's just so many things you can collect, and it's hard to pare it down. I'm sure, the few things that you like. One of my buddies is like, I'm only collecting these 3 types of things, and I applaud him for being able to do that, but I can't do and it's like very minimal amount of things. I'm like, as you can say, like super eclectic, and I like too many things. That's
Well, collect what you love, and you won't go wrong.
Exactly.
Don't collect for the money.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us this week.
Yeah.
Let everybody know where they can find you. Do you have like an eBay store or something people can check out?
Yeah. Leddy's Collectibles on eBay. There's a lot of car parts on there right now. I hope to get more collectibles on there. But Leddy's Collectibles on Instagram, and then Christopher James Leddy on Facebook. And I'm in most of the groups. Most of the collecting groups. But appreciate you guys having me on. This was a great chat. And sorry I was long-winded a lot of those answers.
No.
But,
it was great. We should have you on soon.
Yeah, you should come back. Yeah. There's nothing worse than when you interview somebody and they're like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No. Yeah. No, I mean, I've been podcasting since 2016.
Yeah.
So, and
you're a professional.
Slight retirement, but it's fun to get back in the seat. And anytime you guys want to talk about something that I might be able to help out with or add something to, definitely shoot me a message.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on when Ahsoka season 2 comes out next year.
Yeah. We can cry together.
I hope there's crying. I hope there's laughter. I hope there's all the feels. So
hope there's an improvement there.
Oh yeah.
With that, thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out and points people to our show. You can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We'd love to make you part of our show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People, Sagrona Tima. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collective community. This is the way.
This is the way.